Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Denying asylum to illegal immigrants convicted of serious crimes is a process some might think is automatic, but in reality, it can take years. A new Biden administration rule seeks to fix that.
Getting a refund for flight cancellations and delays might soon be easier. The Senate meets a key deadline, passing a bill to fund the FAA, but it comes with strings attached. What you need to know about the measure sent to the House.
Anti-Israel protesters return to George Washington University. Police line up to prevent them from reaching the university president's house.
The White House says it's not abandoning Israel yet, after President Biden warns of cutting off their supply of weapons. We hear lawmakers' reactions to the president's decision.
The FBI is concerned about the use of AI from foreign adversaries that could spread disinformation, and a House panel investigates a U.S. university's ties to a Chinese university. The host of NTD's Business Matters has those stories and more.
Too much stress and not enough sleep. That's what a poll says Americans are facing. A psychologist tips on the road to Z's and E's, acknowledging, grounding breath, and journaling.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters, here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Welcome. Today is Friday, May 10th. Today's top news, some breaking news actually. Anti-Israel demonstrators were back in action overnight at George Washington University in Washington, D.C. This after being cleared out with dozens of arrests on Wednesday.
And that was 5 hours of chanting by these protesters, and that was through some heavy rain at times too. And there was one person arrested last night.
Right, and police actually confirmed that that was for assault. And we're going to take a look at the story.
NTD's Daniel Monahan has more on that and other protests across the nation.
Demonstrators yelled rallying cries such as "Whose streets? Our streets," and insulted police with chants like "Oink, Pink, Piggy, Piggy, we students run the city." Police were lined up in different spots to protect George Washington University President Ellen Granberg. Fox News reported that the protesters wanted to get to her residence. Demonstrators set up tents outside the administrative building. This comes after police cleared an encampment there the previous day, leading to over 30 arrests. Following repeated warnings, police officers moved in, clearing out the protesters. Over to California. Some professors at UCLA are demanding the administration stop its plan to punish students recently arrested at anti-Israel protests. The faculty held a rally Thursday to announce their demands, including the resignation of UCLA Chancellor Gene Block.
That all legal charges be dropped for all students, staff, and faculty who were involved in the encampment and peaceful protest.
The university administration has gotten it wrong every time and shamefully put our students' lives in danger.
More than 800 UCLA faculty and staff have signed a letter decrying the chancellor's actions. They say the school's academic senate will hold a vote of no confidence on Block on Friday. In Boston, police detained several people Thursday at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology after anti-Israel demonstrators blocked a parking garage. Anti-Israel protests have spread to college campuses in Europe as well. Dutch riot police broke up a demonstration at the University of Amsterdam on Wednesday. They battled demonstrators who had vowed to stay put until the institution severed all ties with Israel. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
And all those protests are costing city budgets a pretty penny. The New York Police Department has spent nearly $53 million in overtime costs covering demonstrations this year. That's compared to about $7 million last year.
Police say there have been nearly 3,000 protests in the city since the war between Israel and Hamas began in October. Those demonstrations have been a large contributor to the increase in overtime.
And some university graduations scheduled for today or the next few days aren't happening.
Several schools that have seen anti-Israel demonstrations are canceling or modifying their ceremonies. They cite safety concerns.
The University of Southern California's main commencement ceremony was scheduled for today. Instead, USC had a celebration at LA's Memorial Coliseum last night as a graduation replacement.
Cal Poly Humboldt says its campus remains closed through Sunday. It's holding commencement ceremonies at 3 off-site locations tomorrow.
Emory University in Atlanta says it'll hold its ceremony off campus on Monday. And Columbia University says its main ceremony that was scheduled for Wednesday is canceled.
And some of these students say that they're being punished over this. I mean, they had no high school send-offs because of COVID, and now that they're just not even getting this chance to graduate with the same flair. They say it's a slap in the face.
Yeah, well, grateful that some of them, they found ways around it. Yeah.
Right.
All right, moving on. A new Biden administration rule aims to speed up asylum processing at the southern border for illegal immigrants considered dangerous.
It would apply to a limited group of people believed to have committed serious crimes or who have terrorist links.
The rule announced Thursday would help officials more quickly remove such people from the country.
The change comes as the Biden administration tries to demonstrate that things are under control at the southern border.
Republicans have consistently slammed the Biden administration over policies they say have worsened the situation with illegal immigration.
Current law makes people convicted of a particularly serious crime ineligible for asylum, but that criminal history doesn't come into play until an immigration judge makes a final determination on asylum, and that process can take years.
A new illegal immigration law in Iowa is being challenged in court. Civil rights groups say the law is unconstitutional. Iowa passed a law last month making it a crime to enter the state for someone previously deported or denied admission to the U.S. But civil rights groups say it oversteps into the territory of federal immigration legislation. They argue the new law will allow law enforcement to arrest who they say are legitimate asylum seekers. Iowa is one of several states trying to create legislation to address record high illegal immigration from the southern border. And the Senate met a key deadline last night, passing a bill to fund the Federal Aviation Administration through 2028.
The agency's authorization is set to expire at the end of today.
The bill comes with a series of mandates for the FAA to address. They include hiring more air traffic controllers, improving runway safety, and requiring customer refunds for flight cancellations or delays.
The Senate is sending the bill to the House for approval after also passing a stopgap bill to buy another this week. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on what you need to know about the measure.
The Senate passed the FAA Reauthorization bill in an 88-4 vote Thursday. The bill would authorize over $105 billion in funding for the agency and close to $740 million for the National Transportation Safety Board through the end of fiscal year 2028. The broad aviation bill aims to boost air traffic control staff, increase funding to avoid runway crashes, and speed up refunds for canceled flights or delays. The bill would also prevent airlines from charging families a fee to sit together and require airlines to accept credits and vouchers for at least 5 years. Cockpits would need 25-hour recording devices, up from the current 2 hours. The measure also adds 5 daily round-trip flights at Washington National Airport. Some senators argue that would increase congestion and delays. Others say it will give consumers choices and bring prices down. The bill raises penalties for airline consumer violations and directs the FAA to hire more inspectors, engineers, and technical specialists. This after the Alaska Airlines MAX 9 mid-flight door plug emergency and a series of near-miss incidents on runways. The House has until next week Friday to finalize the measure and send it to President Biden's desk. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Lawyers for former President Trump accused Stormy Daniels of lying about her encounter with Trump, and the judge in the case denies another request for a mistrial. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has the latest from Trump's New York trial.
Former President Trump's lawyer grilled adult film actress Stormy Daniels in court Thursday, saying she made up the alleged encounter with Trump. They argued Daniels repeatedly changed the details of her testimony because it was false. Over the course of the day, Trump lawyer Susan Nicholas went over the details of the alleged encounter and what Daniels previously said to the media about it. She pointed out inconsistencies in Daniels' story. Daniels spent roughly 7.5 hours on the stand over 2 days. She testified she was paid to keep quiet about the alleged encounter during the 2016 presidential election. She testified she wasn't physically held in the room with Trump, but felt a power imbalance, saying her own insecurities kept her from saying no. Trump denies the encounter took place. Trump's lawyer argued Daniels' work in the adult film industry makes her testimony about being frightened by Trump's alleged advances unbelievable. Judge Juan Merchan later denied a request to declare a mistrial, as well as one to modify the gag order placed on Trump. Trump's lawyers argued Trump should be allowed to publicly respond to Daniels' testimony. Trump railed against Merchan after court.
I'm innocent, and I'm being held in this court with a corrupt judge who's totally conflicted. Take a look at his conflict. It's a disgrace.
Daniels' testimony is a build-up to the prosecution's star witness Michael Cohen, who arranged the $130,000 payment to Daniels. Trump is accused of falsifying internal business records to cover up the so-called hush money payments and instead recording them as legal expenses. Trump has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers are arguing there was nothing illegal about the payments. Trump's lawyer said Thursday former model Karen McDougal would not be testifying. McDougal alleged that she had an affair with Trump between 2006 and 2007. Prosecutors say Cohen was involved in paying her a sum of alleged hush money as well. Trump denies the alleged encounter took place. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
While Trump will be back in court, President Biden will attend 2 fundraisers in the Bay Area today. This after he said yesterday to set up the debate when asked by reporters if he would debate Trump.
A federal appeals court has refused to dismiss criminal gun charges against Hunter Biden. The move yesterday paves the way for a trial on June 3rd, which would be the first for the child of a sitting president. Hunter Biden asked the 3rd U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals to dismiss the charges. He wanted the court to overturn prior decisions from the trial judge saying the case should proceed. Instead, the appellate panel rejected the appeal. Prosecutors say the younger Biden bought and possessed a revolver in 2018. They claim that violated federal law because he was using drugs at the time. Hunter Biden has pleaded not guilty to all 3 felony counts. The Southeast was ravaged by more dangerous storms yesterday. Tennessee was lashed by a tornado in Columbia, a city near Nashville.
That tornado killed 1 person and destroyed scores of houses.
The National Weather Service said the latest tornado reached speeds of 140 miles per hour. Officials said the tornado damaged or destroyed over 100 homes in Columbia.
Governor Bill Lee said a woman died after her mobile home was hit by the tornado and flung several feet into a wooded area. Experts estimate the tornado traveled over 11 miles and was about 900 yards wide.
The tornado uprooted trees or snapped them into pieces. Later, the same tornado was caught on video in nearby Spring Hill, Tennessee. It came roaring through the town, cutting a wide swath and damaging or destroying more houses. Power lines were downed. Cleanup and damage assessment is still ongoing. Coming up, the White House says it's not abandoning Israel just yet after President Biden warns of cutting off Israel's supply of weapons. We hear lawmakers' reactions.
As the Israel-Hamas war continues, the threat of diminishing aid looms. Analysis on the current relationship between President Biden and Israel's Prime Minister and what this could mean for Israel.
The glory of piano masterpieces from the Baroque, Classical, and Romantic periods. New Tang Dynasty Television invites you to join the 2024 NTD International Piano Competition. Together, we preserve and revitalize the art of authentic classical piano music. October 14th to the 19th at the Kaufman Music Center in New York City. Apply now at piano.ntdtv.com.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose? Do I have a death wish? Morgan asked. Maybe I did. I thought this would be our final run ever. We had made millions and millions of dollars, but God had other plans.
Peter Lowe, the one-time drug dealer turned pastor, along with 2 others, will be executed at 12 midnight local time.
The next day, something strange happened. Someone came up to me and gave me this flyer about Jesus.
You can be in heaven, or you can be in hell. The choice is yours.
We'll walk straight out of here. Pretend to be the media.
This pathetic maggot got caught trying to escape my prison. Nobody escapes my prison.
He's a changed person. He's a new man.
I found Christ in here, and he forgave me.
I found Christ too.
My name is Peter Lowe, and I will be executed in 2 hours. Why am I being executed, you ask?
Jesus is for free, and salvation is a gift. Do you believe in Jesus?
Thanks for staying with us. The White House says now Israel will get everything it needs to defend itself against Hamas. That's despite President Biden pausing an arms shipment to Israel, citing risks to civilians. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
The White House is insisting that the U.S. is not walking away from Israel, even though President Biden told CNN that he would stop sending Israel offensive weapons if it proceeds with a ground offensive in Rafah. Here's National Security spokesperson John Kirby briefing us on Thursday morning.
He's going to continue to provide Israel with the capabilities that it needs, all of them. But he does not want certain categories of American weapons used in a particular type of operation in a particular place.
What Biden wants instead, the White House says, is alternatives that will still achieve Israel's goals but avoid further civilian casualties. Kirby adds that a ground operation in Rafah, where 1 million Palestinians are sheltering, could benefit Hamas in negotiations.
Rafah ground operation would actually strengthen Hamas's hands at the negotiating table, not Israel's. It just gives him more ammunition for his twisted narrative here.
Despite Biden's warning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday sounding defiant, saying Israel won the war of independence even without armed support. And now,
if we have to stand alone, we will stand alone. I have already said that if we have to, we will fight with our nails.
And earlier, Israel's national security minister tweeted, Hamas loves Biden. That says former President Trump is also accusing Biden of, quote, taking the side of these terrorists.
He's totally abandoned Israel.
But the White House says these arguments are just not true, citing Biden's actions in sending U.S. pilots to defend Israel from drone attacks and also ordering our own military to help Israel through its war planning. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Israel is set to receive billions of dollars in weapons from the U.S.
That's despite President Biden's decision to review some weapons supplies to Israel over its planned invasion of Rafah.
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee says this includes joint direct attack munitions tank rounds, mortars, and armored tactical vehicles.
A shipment of bombs worth tens of millions of dollars, according to congressional aides, was delayed earlier.
The committee said some of these weapons have been in the pipeline since December.
They are not part of the $26 billion aid package signed by Biden last month.
Senate and House Republicans showed a united front in denouncing President Biden's warning that the U.S. will withhold weapons to Israel if it invades Rafah.
The Senate unveiled a resolution to condemn the move, while in the House, Congressman Corey Mills says he's preparing articles of impeachment against the president. Our Washington correspondent Luis Martinez has more on this story.
On Thursday, Senate Republicans unveiled a resolution condemning President Biden's decision to withhold foreign military aid to Israel. Senator Lindsey Graham urged the president to reconsider his policies.
Withholding weapons makes it very difficult, if not impossible, to get American hostages back and Israeli hostages back because you're incentivizing bad behavior.
House Republicans have also been critical of the president's decision. Congressman Mike Lawler, the Republican from New York, accused the president of playing electoral politics with U.S. foreign policy.
So what the president is doing here is capitulating because of electoral politics, because he's concerned about the vote in Michigan and Minnesota. And that is taking precedent over eliminating a terroristic threat. And to me, that's unconscionable. Congress passed aid to Israel just a few weeks ago. The president has a responsibility to move that aid expeditiously.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who had previously called for new elections in Israel, maintained his support for the president and his policies.
I believe that Israel and America have an ironclad relationship, and I have faith in what the Biden administration is doing.
While other Democrats, like Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, who believe that the president is mistaken in his foreign policy towards Israel.
But I don't agree with that. I don't believe there should be any conditions with Israel. When you are in a war with another side that has no conditions or any kinds of morality or any kinds of standards, I really think we need to be absolutely ready to stand with Israel and provide whatever they need.
According to Senator Ted Cruz, Republicans are considering their options in curtailing the prerogative of the president of withholding foreign aid without consulting Congress. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
As Israel continues to push forward with its ground offensive in Rafah in the Gaza Strip, some Palestinians are still trying to flee to safety, and others have complained of not having enough food. But help is apparently on the way as the first shipment of aid to the U.S.-built pier near Gaza has departed. NTD's Jason Perry has the latest on the war.
Families in the Gaza Strip are once again on the move as Israel Defense Forces appear determined to push forward with ground operations in Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip.
We keep moving from one place to another. This child was born during the war. What is his fault? He was born in Rafah. There's no clothes. What is the fault of these children? What can we say?
And many residents are also concerned about not having enough food to eat, as Israel Defense Forces have shut down the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, through which humanitarian aid is normally delivered. But now that the U.S.-built floating pier off the Gaza coast is complete, Cyprus's foreign minister said the first shipment of aid to the pier has departed. Meanwhile, in Israel, protesters tried to block aid from getting into the Gaza Strip.
These trucks are taking food to Hamas. Hamas are murderers, rapists, terrible, terrible people. We think that our government has been forced by the Americans to give them this food. We don't like it. We're doing our best to stop them.
And family members of hostages continue to bear the pain of having their loved ones held captive by Hamas.
For us, every minute there's a little bit hope. Sometimes it makes it even harder because you allow yourself to hope, and then you fall again because again it fails. So it's like a roller coaster. It's really, really emotional and ups and downs.
There are over 130 hostages still being held in the Gaza Strip. A Hamas official said that if Israel continues with ground operations in Rafah, then there will be no ceasefire deal, while Israel says they are committed to achieving their war objectives, including bringing all of the hostages home. And on the ground in eastern Rafah, the IDF reported that 3 Israeli troops were injured near a booby-trapped tunnel entrance that exploded. Jason Perry, NTD News.
Up next, a Chinese billionaire agrees to leave the U.S. in a plea deal, forfeiting his green card over a straw donor scheme.
Prosecutors say straw donors contributed over $11,000 to political campaigns on his behalf. We have more on his sentencing. Innocent Falun Gong practitioners, including elderly women, arrested in Serbia ahead of a visit by Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping. NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with one of those detained.
More than just beautiful dance. It's a touch of the divine. More than just legends. It's the beautiful culture and wisdom of China before communism. More than just a performance. It's an experience that awakens the soul.
Lincoln Center, NJ-PAC, State Theater, Purchase, and Stamford. Starting March 28th. Tickets at shenyun.com.
We are only 80 years removed from countries that killed 60 to 70 million people intentionally. And we have people being like, oh, it can't happen here. Yeah, it can, and it might.
These people, they're not interested in the facts. They're not interested in anything except crushing people that are in their way.
There needs to be a formal deprogramming of the cult members.
A strong church can stop this.
The shining gem of New England. This delightful seaside city of Newport is one of the most beautiful places in the state. Today, we bring you here as we meet with our friends and fellow musicians from the Hermitage Piano Trio. As a team, they have garnered multiple Grammy Award nominations with their breathtaking performances.
Oh, wow, I did not think this instrument can make that sound, right?
The pandemic made this reunion even more special.
3 of us, we like it because we feel music the same way, so...
Don't miss us on the next episode of Piano Talks.
When I drink it, the first thing was I feel the warmth in my tummy. It's kind of like gently radiating out, a kind of a very comforting warmth. And it was really good, actually. I felt much better. I did feel, actually, an effect. And I find that it is actually better when I take it regularly.
It's actually steamed and dried 9 times. And so it's really, the essence is really extracted.
Then a second time, I tried it really like on an empty stomach and just 2 teaspoons of it and over a few times. And wow, that was a big difference because suddenly I could feel, wow, I was very good energized. I didn't have to eat. I could work outside in the garden for a couple of hours and I still felt very well. And I was impressed by that. So I think it's a good product.
Good to have you back. A Chinese billionaire has agreed to leave the U.S. after pleading guilty to illegal campaign donations.
A federal court sentenced 55-year-old Hui Qin to 7 months in prison yesterday, matching his time served in pretrial detention.
The 56-year-old pleaded guilty in March to making illegal donations in other people's names. He admitted to recruiting and reimbursing people who made donations on his behalf.
Prosecutors said the straw donors contributed about $11,000 to campaigns on Chin's behalf without the campaign's knowledge. That started with a New York City race in 2021 when Mayor Eric Adams was elected. A lawyer for Adams says the mayor had no knowledge of the scheme.
The Chinese tycoon has homes in Manhattan and Long Island. Authorities took him to an airport after sentencing. Chin's lawyer said Chin got on a plane but declined to say where he was going.
The Chinese film magnate filed for bankruptcy on Wednesday. He asked not to be sent to China, where he's almost $500 million in debt.
In a movie likely to appease the Chinese regime, Serbian authorities arrested several Falun Gong practitioners ahead of a visit by Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping.
NTD's Daniel Monahan spoke with one of the detainees who was released once Xi left the country.
The move by Serbian authorities occurred just days after Russian authorities raided 5 homes and arrested 4 Falun Gong practitioners, also ahead of a planned meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Xi. The regime has sought to export its persecution of Falun Gong beyond its borders since 1999. Falun Gong is a spiritual discipline that consists of meditative exercises and moral principles. Business owner Dejan Markovic was one of those detained.
There were 6 practitioners and 2 family members who don't practice, including my own brother. And at some point, plainclothes police just came to our doors and asked us to go with them. You don't even get a pillow there. And of course, you don't get a toothbrush, and you get very little food, and you don't have a lavatory in the rooms.
Markovic says those arrested included an elderly woman nearing 80 years old, another woman almost 70 who had previously battled cancer, and a third woman around 60 years old.
So I wonder, are we that dangerous to Xi Jinping? He came here with 400 policemen on his side, and I'm sure that at least 3,000 policemen were engaged here to protect him, and still they're afraid of 8 people, among them one lady close to 80.
An arrest warrant issued for Markovic stated that he was suspected of posing a serious threat to persons under international protection. After Xi left the country, he and the other detainees were handed a document saying the threat doesn't exist anymore. The business owner says this isn't the first time the Serbian government has followed the will of the CCP. In 2019, he says they tried to hold a premiere of a documentary called Blacklisted about the illegal arrest of Falun Gong practitioners. The film was banned from the first 3 venues they found, but the authorities couldn't ban it from the 4th as it was owned by an Austrian company.
And during that event, I know that one of the venue directors said that she was contacted by a secretary from Ministry of External Affairs, and this secretary said that Chinese ambassador told him that she will leave the country if the film is premiered.
Serbia, a member of China's Belt and Road Initiative, relies heavily on billions of dollars in investment from China. Markovic says this cooperation comes with a heavy price.
It's not that they only want to build bridges and roads, they also introduce their totalitarian regime and control over people and things like that.
Markovic says practicing Falun Gong has dramatically improved his life.
I was not ill for one day for 19 years. I have a lot of energy. I do my job much better than before. I have family relationships much better than before.
NTD reached out to the Serbian authorities. We are still waiting to hear back from them. Those detained haven't been charged with any crimes. Markovic says that the practitioners plan to sue the government over the detention. Falun Gong practitioners in Serbia have previously brought forth 2 suits against the government, one over arrests in 2014, which they won in the country's highest court. Daniel Monahan, NTD News.
Yeah, we see that influence, like, for example, like he mentioned back in 2014, when they were just trying to bring awareness, these Falun Gong practitioners, to the state-sanctioned forced organ harvesting that's going on in China.
There's no question now about the CCP influence there, at least. And like I mentioned before, a German member of the European Parliament had already voiced concern when it was announced that she was going to visit Serbia and Hungary, what his goal was about his influence building. And he was calling it an axis, that he's afraid that he's creating an axis against the EU and the US. And if you're looking at, the efforts that are ongoing right now, China is also very active in building relationships with Russia, with Iran. And then we look at BRICS, which is also the BRICS group, which is also pushing for new members, which is mostly a Russian and Chinese push for expansion. So a lot going on there.
Yes, and we have more on this similar related topic.
Absolutely. So Falun Gong practitioners in New York are holding a parade today to celebrate the upcoming World Falun Dafa Day. Here's a preview.
A faith rich in beauty and tradition, uplifting the mind and body, persevering through decades of persecution. Watch our special coverage of the 2024 World Falun Dafa Day Parade live from New York City, starting 11 a.m. Eastern Time, here on NTD.
The Philippines National Security Council called for Chinese diplomats to be expelled today. The country's national security advisor says the Chinese embassy's malign influence operations must be stopped. He called for the diplomats to be removed from the country immediately. This after a transcript of an alleged phone call of a Filipino admiral making a deal with the Chinese regime made headlines this week. The Philippines defense minister says the embassy officials would have broken an anti-wiretapping act. He also says transcripts can easily be fabricated and audio recordings can be manufactured by using deepfakes. The Chinese regime revealed an agreement from 2016 with the Philippines that allegedly involves the access of some islands in the South China Sea. What's in this deal? Is it substantial? And why are they doing this now? Here's my talk with retired Marine Colonel Grant Newsham, a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy and the author of When China Attacks.
Well, the Chinese say that the agreement was reached between them and the former Philippine administration of President Duterte. And basically, it seems that the details aren't entirely clear, that the Chinese say the Philippines promised not to send any construction materials, even to send military or government ships to an island, an atoll that the Philippines owns, but the Chinese are threatening. The Philippines occupy it. The Philippines say, no, we made no agreement about this. The Chinese say, yes, you did. The idea was to preserve the so-called status quo. And as I said, it's a vague agreement. It's a gentleman's agreement. There's nothing written. China's saying it exists. The Philippines are saying, well, no, it doesn't. And if there was anything, it was just some vague language between the former administration and you. So it really is a sort of an effort to distract on the part of the Chinese and to create some political difficulties for the current president of the Philippines, who has actually sided with the Americans against the Philippines, unlike his predecessor.
Right, that this was barring military access. However, it was allowing some of these small-scale fishing vessels in the region. But why would China unveil this so-called agreement now?
Well, they hate the current president of the Philippines because he has gotten closer to the United States. The U.S. military is now operating more in the Philippines, as are the Australians, the Japanese, and others. And they don't like this. And this is an effort to hurt the current president politically with midterm elections coming up next year. It's trying to split the support that President Marcos has. And it's a pretty transparent ploy. And even the Duterte camp, the ones who supposedly made the agreement, are saying, well, maybe we had some discussions, but we didn't agree to anything that would give up Philippine sovereignty. And now it's a question of the Chinese saying, well, yes, you did. And the Philippines are saying, well, no, we didn't. And it's almost like talking to the mafia in a way about some imaginary agreement. So I feel sorry for the Philippines.
And we see here that China is saying that the Philippines was honoring this agreement for 7 years, and then all of a sudden it stopped. Why would they say that?
Oh, it's what they do. You think about it, when they make a statement like this, that's backed up by no evidence, and then it puts the other side in the position of having to prove something that isn't true. And it's, as I said, it's a distraction, and it upsets things politically inside the Philippines. And this is at a time when the Chinese are coming under increasing pressure and exposure for what they have done to seize and occupy Philippine territory. And also you're seeing recently the Americans, the Japanese, and I said the Australians and others doing more militarily, and also are talking about law enforcement patrols, which is obviously aimed at China in the future. And the Chinese don't like this, and it is really an effort to distract more than anything else.
Something very important here, especially considering that much of the world's trade passes through the South China Sea, and the Chinese regime claims it as its territory, almost virtually all of it. Grant Newsham, retired U.S. Marine Colonel and Senior Fellow at the Center for Security Policy, thank you for your time today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Coming up, the FBI concerned foreign adversaries could use AI to interfere in U.S. elections, saying we could be seeing a growth in the technology to spread disinformation in the coming years.
And a U.S. Congressional Committee on China is investigating details into one university's ties to a Chinese university that also has ties to the Chinese military. That's coming up.
The 2024 NTD 9th International Chinese Vocal Competition is scheduled to take place at Merkin Hall, Kaufman Music Center in New York from September 18th to 21st. The competition specially invites vocalists from the world-famous Shen Yun Performing Arts to serve as judges. The prestigious Gold Award is $10,000. Chinese vocal artists aged 18 to 50 are welcome to register.
大提琴不仅仅是一件乐器，它是有生命、有感情的，需要我们精心的照顾。往往我们一个小小的动作，可能都会对人情绪产生微妙的影响。天音的品牌是福星，我们对于传统的理念很荣幸被神韵艺术团选为指定供应商。时间是酿造音色的不可替代的陪伴。我跟大提琴已经有60多年的友情了，每一把琴都有它自己的个性，熟悉它，才能真正发挥它的潜力。所以，我希望给你的每一把琴，都是首先我所信任的。
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking, now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Good to have you back. We have NTD's Business Matters host Don Ma with us now to give us the latest updates from the tech and business world.
Don, talk to us about election security.
Yes, so the FBI has raised concerns in this aspect, and what they're saying is reportedly they're concerned about foreign adversaries here could deploy artificial intelligence as a means to interfere in American elections and potentially spread disinformation here. And this is according to the Associated Press, which cited an unnamed senior official yesterday. Now, the threat is more than simply theoretical here because we've seen, given the prevalence of AI and deepfakes and robocalls, such as the way that the technology has already been used during this election cycle. So the official said that AI technology is a challenge to law enforcement, not only because it lowers the barrier of entry for people looking to make mischief, but also because it adds to the arsenal of more sophisticated foreign governments that want to interfere in elections. And the AP source was one of several FBI officials to brief reporters on the topic of election security on the condition of anonymity, underground rules set by the FBI. So three countries of most concern here to the FBI in the current election here, of course, Russia and China, of course, and Iran as well.
Right. And I mean, there were robocalls in the U.S. already that impersonated President Biden, or in Slovakia, apparently, there were these fake, of course, audio clips coming up where the liberal chief was apparently talking about rigging the vote and stuff like that. So the technology seems to be there. Let's switch topics, though, because the U.S. committee is targeting Georgia Tech because they're allegedly having ties to Chinese military-linked research. What about that? Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's what's happening right now. So the details here are that a congressional committee on China is asking Georgia Institute of Technology to detail its collaboration with a Chinese university. And now this university in question here is China's Northeastern Tianjin University, which, by the way, is facing U.S. government restrictions over its ties to China's military. So the chairman of the House of Representatives Select Committee on China wrote a letter to the president of Georgia Tech. It said that the school partnered with Tianjin University on cutting-edge technologies, despite its documented ties to the People's Liberation Army. So that's China's military. So the letter noted that Tianjin University and numerous affiliates were added to the Commerce Department's export restrictions list for actions contrary to U.S. national security. And of course, that includes trade secret theft and research as well at that, and collaboration to advance China's military. And a spokesperson, just to give Georgia Tech's perspective, it said that it welcomed the congressional inquiry, but that the university does not have a collaboration with Tianjin University in terms of research, partnerships, or providing any funding.
I see. Well, that just shows also, all the vulnerabilities that the U.S. tries to protect, since semiconductors, especially, is such a strategic industry there. And China, of course, has quite a bit of history in espionage in the U.S. So let's talk about Target now. They made an interesting move by pulling LGBT-themed items from their stores. What happened?
Right, so this is according to Bloomberg News, a report from that outlet yesterday. So apparently Target is planning to cut LGBTQ-themed merchandise from some of its stores during Pride Month this June. And that's because backlash, no surprise here, for the selling of the merchandise, leading to decreased sales for the year. So last year, Target was actually forced to remove some items from transgender designer Eric Carnell's Arbapelin brand, pointing to an increase in customer-employee confrontations and incidents of Pride merchandise being thrown on the floor. So the company says it will curate which items to sell in which stores based on guest insights and customer research.
And Target's growth officer says that pushback is a signal to them to pause, adapt, and learn. Let's talk about Sriracha now. What's going on with them?
Yeah, one of my favorite sauces here, but it seems like I could be impacted because we may see another Sriracha shortage in the near future here. So California-based Huifeng Foods says it will not produce any more of the popular hot sauce until after Labor Day. So the company says the temporary pause is because the red jalapeno peppers used to make the Sriracha sauce, well, they're too green here. affecting the color of the sriracha. So the company's red winter jalapeno peppers are grown in Mexico, where there is currently a severe drought. So hot, dry conditions can disrupt the ripening process and prevent the peppers from achieving their prized red color here. So sriracha makes other foods than Huifang Foods haven't reported any pepper shortages.
Oh, well, thank goodness. Otherwise, we just have, I know some people have that, we can just resort to our emergency saws that some people had on their keychains. That would be interesting, that would be good to have too. So do you have also news from the auto industry? I think Chevy made quite a shift.
Yeah, so GM is going to end production of the Chevy Malibu this fall as it plans to revamp the Fairfax assembly plant near Kansas City. So the plant will be retooled to produce the electric Chevrolet Bolt and temporarily pause production of the Cadillac XT4, which is also made in the same plant. GM has been focusing on crossover and sport utility vehicles, and the Malibu is now the only remaining Chevrolet car offered in the United States, aside from the Corvette. Over 6 decades, more than 10 million Malibus have been sold.
Yeah, well, this is a surprise. I mean, the Malibu used to be a bestseller at one time. Don Ma, host of Business Matters, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, a poll shows a majority of Americans are sleep deprived, and on top of that, stress is on the rise in the U.S. A psychologist offers tips on how to get the sleep you need and put those stressors in perspective so you can find inner peace after the break.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're going to benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Medicine has moved from making us well to making us better than well.
Bigger, faster, stronger, smarter, to even make human beings, in a sense, superhuman.
The big products of the 21st century are going to be bodies and minds.
This new gene editing technology known as CRISPR is to genetics and genetic technologies what the atomic bomb was to physics.
It's like doing surgery with an axe.
We're taking genetically modified organisms and we're injecting them in little kids' arms. We just shoot them right into the vein.
It's experimental for a reason. If you want to be a lab rat, go for it. I was.
It is the biggest scam of all time, and we're living in it.
Good to have you back. Do you get enough sleep? And make sure to de-stress if things are getting hectic.
That's so important to do. And a newly released Gallup poll conducted in 2023 found a couple troubling statistics. More Americans are stressed out now than 30 years ago.
Yeah, and 57% of Americans say they would feel better if they got more sleep, with only 42% saying they get enough sleep. Those numbers are just about the exact opposite from 2013.
Let's find out the causes and solutions with Shannon Crawford, a psychologist and the CEO of Crawford Clinics.
Well, it's chicken or the egg. I think the lack of stress or the lack of sleep producing stress, and then the stress causing us to not go to bed and get good quality sleep. A lot of people are reporting they're staying in bed and they're trying to sleep, but the thoughts keep coming.
Yeah, and it's just so hard to sleep nowadays with you have all the screens keeping you up and all these distractions. Is there any way to tune out the noise and just set the stage for a good night's sleep?
Absolutely. So it's called sleep hygiene, just setting your environment to actually enter into rest. So a key is don't do work in bed. So a practical thing like having screens in bed is just not a good idea because your brain is set to work and think about problems instead of setting that time to say, okay, this is the rest. And I would say make sure you're journaling and processing. It just takes 5 minutes at the end of the day. People are like, I don't have time for that. But in reality, if you journal, you process, you clean all that out, your brain doesn't now linger about thinking on that, and which is waking you up in the middle of the night.
So that is just such a good strategy. Now, we look at the numbers. 57% of American adults say they would feel better if they got more sleep. That's a complete reversal from 2013, where it was just the other way around. So what caused this over the last decade?
Yeah, I think we have more psychological stress than we realize. So there's finances, we're in an election year, there's what's going to happen to our country. There's lots of things going on that during times of transition and adjustment, just a good clue in life in general, we're more likely to have our automaticity, which is your brain going on autopilot, which helps you reduce stress. The automaticity reduces, and now your brain is having to go how are we going to pay for college? What are we going to do? What if this changes? And so all of those are stressors at an unconscious level, and then that's keeping your body from being able to enter into rest.
Yeah, and a report by the American Psychological Association found that 65% of adults were stressed out about health problems, and 63% polled reported that they were stressed out about money here. In your clinical experience, are there ways to condition ourselves to manage stress from sources we have no control over, and then take the initiative to resolve issues causing stress that we can change?
Absolutely. So when you take time to acknowledge, it just helps, almost like a minimized browser window on your computer. When you acknowledge, I'm stressed about finances, I'm stressed about my relationship or about the future and the unknown. When you give your body the opportunity to acknowledge and release, and then you can do grounding breath. So when you do your breath work, you're visualizing that stress, that emotion being released out of your body. When you're doing that, you're helping recenter your central nervous system. Then you think about the problem again, but you've conditioned your body to stay at peace rather than continuing to have fight or flight response and then trying to ignore it or ruminate on it, both of which keep your body in a stress response.
Thank you so much, Shannon Crawford, psychologist and CEO of Crawford Clinics.
Thanks, bye.
I think that's some really great tips because I think many people will relate to that to try and quiet your brain down at night.
Yeah, meditation can help with that. And according to WebMD, one of the first steps to reducing the stress is assessment. Ask yourself things like, are you overloaded at work? And just try to find out if there's some emotional support that you can get from your social group and things like that.
Right. And one of the first things that I learned about, because I had trouble sleeping when I was scrolling on my phone in bed, which is definitely, like we heard, a no-no, I get it. But also the blue light apparently tricks your brain into, thinking it's still daylight. So that's also one more thing to take into consideration.
There's a filter for that on the phone.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yep.
All right, we are heading to a quick break now, but we'll be right back, so stay with us.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Anti-Israel protesters return to George Washington University. Police line up to prevent them from reaching the university president's house.
Israel set to receive billions of dollars in U.S. weapons despite President Biden's pause in aid. How this will play into the tension between the two allies as Israel prepares for an offensive in Rafah.
Aggressive cross-examination of adult film actress Stormy Daniels in former President Trump's business records trial. What is the defense trying to show, and how is Daniels' testimony related to the labeling of payments to Fixer Cohen? A former prosecutor's answer.
Denying asylum to illegal immigrants convicted of serious crimes is a process some may think is automatic, but in reality, it can take years. A new Biden administration rule seeks to fix that.
Another round of severe storms pounded the southeast yesterday. A huge tornado ripped through towns in Tennessee, killing one person. The tornado was caught on video.
Ever wanted to know what it's like to plunge into a black hole? Check out a stunning new visualization made on a NASA supercomputer.
This is NTD Good Morning. Live from our global headquarters, here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Today's Friday, everyone, May 10th, and today's top news is breaking news. Anti-Israel demonstrators were back in action overnight at George Washington University in Washington, D.C.
This after being cleared out with dozens of arrests on Wednesday.
Demonstrators set up tents outside the administrative building and yelled rallying cries and insulted police.
Police were lined up in different spots to protect George Washington University President Ellen Granberg.
In California, some professors at UCLA are demanding the administration stop its plan to punish students recently arrested at anti-Israel protests.
In Boston, police detained several people Thursday at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology after anti-Israel demonstrators blocked a parking garage.
Anti-Israel protests have spread to college campuses in Europe as well. Dutch riot police broke up a demonstration at the University of Amsterdam on Wednesday.
And this morning, police started to disband tent encampments at the UPenn and arrest those who refused to leave. This came just after Pennsylvania governor called the encampment to end less than 24 hours ago.
Some university graduations scheduled for today or the next few days aren't happening.
Several schools that have seen anti-Israel demonstrations are canceling or modifying their ceremonies. They cite safety concerns.
The University of Southern California's main commencement ceremony was scheduled for today. Instead, USC had a celebration at LA's Memorial Coliseum last night as a graduation replacement.
Cal Poly Humboldt says its campus remains closed through Sunday. It's holding commencement ceremonies at 3 off-site locations tomorrow.
And Emory University in Atlanta says it'll hold its ceremony off campus on Monday. And Columbia University says its main ceremony that was scheduled for Wednesday is canceled.
And these graduation ceremonies, they're a big milestone in students' lives. I mean, they work really hard for that.
Yeah, and many of them really, like you mentioned, they got the short end of the stick because they came into it during COVID and now they're going out with all these protests.
Yes. So we're going to move on here. We're going to go to former President Trump's hush money trial, lawyers for former President Trump accused Stormy Daniels of lying about her encounter with Trump, and the judge in the case denies another request for a mistrial. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has the latest from Trump's New York trial.
Former President Trump's lawyer grilled adult film actress Stormy Daniels in court Thursday, saying she made up the alleged encounter with Trump. They argued Daniels repeatedly changed the details of her testimony because it was false. She testified she wasn't physically held in the room with Trump, but felt a power imbalance, saying her own insecurities kept her from saying no. Trump denies the encounter took place. Judge Juan Merchan later denied a request to declare a mistrial, as well as one to modify the gag order placed on Trump. Trump's lawyers argued Trump should be allowed to publicly respond to Daniels' testimony. Daniels' testimony is a build-up to the prosecution's star witness Michael Cohen, who arranged the $130,000 payment to Daniels. Trump is accused of falsifying internal business records to cover up the so-called hush money payments and instead recording them as legal expenses. Trump has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers are arguing there was nothing illegal about the payments. Trump's lawyer said Thursday former model Karen McDougal would not be testifying. McDougal alleged that she had an affair with Trump between 2006 and 2007. Prosecutors say Cohen was involved in paying her a sum of alleged hush money as well. Trump denies the alleged encounter took place. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
For more on Daniels' testimony, let's bring in Zach Smith, a former federal prosecutor and senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation. There you are, Zach. Thanks for coming on today. Was the defense hinging its questioning of Daniels on trying to have her reveal that the sexual encounter never happened, or were they seeking something else?
Well, look, I think the fact that Stormy Daniels is testifying at this trial at all, particularly going into pretty graphic details about her alleged encounters with Donald Trump, really is troubling in the first place because at the end of the day, the details that were coming out during Stormy Daniels' testimony really aren't relevant to the charges that the prosecution is bringing against Donald Trump. And so I think what Donald Trump's lawyers are probably concerned about is that the jury will be somehow unduly tainted or unduly prejudiced by this testimony, which I think can rightly be viewed as an effort to muddy the waters, kind of dirty up Donald Trump and other issues surrounding these payments. But at the end of the day, the legal issue that this jury is going to be asked to decide, factual information coming out, is whether or not these payments were improperly recorded and whether they were done to cover up another crime, in this case, an alleged campaign finance violation. And so I think many commentators have asked, why are the prosecutors eliciting this type of testimony from Stormy Daniels? And I think it can only be seen as an effort to really try to muddy the waters and dirty up Donald Trump.
And Zach, that was some tense exchange between defense attorneys and Daniels when she was on the stand, with one of the defense attorneys saying, "You made all this up, right?" And then Daniels responded with a definitive no. So this just goes back to the central point of this case, whether or not those legal expenses were actually legal expenses or not. So why are they bringing up all this testimony from Daniels in the first place? Expand a little further on what you're saying.
Yeah, look, I think it's an effort to kind of cast aspersions on Donald Trump, paint him in an unfavorable light to the jury. And I think the other issue, kind of in the background involving Stormy Daniels in this testimony, is that the media is breathlessly reporting on all of these salacious details that are coming out during this testimony. And what Donald Trump and his lawyers are telling the judge is that this information is being reported and repeated in the media, and because of your gag order, Donald Trump cannot respond, which is having an impact on his ability to campaign for the presidency of the United States. And it goes back to what we've talked about before with the issues with this gag order, the First Amendment concerns, and the unique position that Donald Trump finds himself in, that he's running for office, that these details are being leaked to the press by Stormy Daniels, by Michael Cohen, and yet Donald Trump is not able to respond because of this judge's gag order.
Daniels was striking a defiant tone there when the defense was trying to allege that she was just trying to hawk her merchandise. Zach, where is this trial heading here? I mean, what more needs to be established?
Yeah, I suspect we still have several more weeks of testimony. Again, the Alvin Bragg, the prosecutors in this case, they have to link these payments were somehow used to cover up another crime. That's where Michael Cohen's testimony is going to prove pivotal. Michael Cohen, don't forget, is a serial perjurer, has been found to be untruthful in other contexts. So I suspect Donald Trump's attorneys will have some pretty harsh cross-examination for him. But don't forget, along with this trial in New York City, there is actions taking place in the other trials that Donald Trump is facing as well. The Supreme Court will likely hand down its ruling in Donald Trump's immunity case in the next several weeks. We just heard that a Georgia appeals court is going to review the disqualification of Fani Willis, or the lack of disqualification of Fani Willis's office. And so I suspect the next several weeks are going to be very, very busy in terms of the legal news concerning Donald Trump and these many cases.
Thank you for your input this morning, Zach Smith, former federal prosecutor and senior legal fellow at the Heritage Foundation.
Thank you.
The White House says Israel will get everything it needs to defend itself against Hamas. That's despite President Biden pausing an arms shipment to Israel, citing risks to civilians. NTD's White House correspondent Iris Tao has more.
The White House is insisting that the U.S. is not walking away from Israel, even though President Biden told CNN that he would stop sending Israel offensive weapons if it proceeds with a ground offensive in Rafah. Here's National Security spokesperson John Kirby briefing us on Thursday morning.
He's going to continue to provide Israel with the capabilities that it needs, all of them. But he does not want certain categories of American weapons used in a particular type of operation in a particular place.
What Biden wants instead, the White House says, is alternatives that will still achieve Israel's goals but avoid further civilian casualties. Kirby adds that a ground operation in Rafah, where 1 million Palestinians are sheltering, could benefit Hamas in negotiations.
Rafah ground operation would actually strengthen Hamas's hands at the negotiating table, not Israel's. It just gives him more ammunition for his twisted narrative here.
Despite Biden's warning, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Thursday sounding defiant, saying Israel won the war of independence even without armed support. And now,
if we have to stand alone, we will stand alone. I have already said that if we have to, we will fight with our nails.
And earlier, Israel's national security minister tweeted, Hamas loves Biden. That says former President Trump is also accusing Biden of, quote, taking the side of these terrorists.
He's totally abandoned Israel.
But the White House says these arguments are just not true, citing Biden's actions in sending U.S. pilots to defend Israel from drone attacks and also ordering our own military to help Israel through its war planning. Reporting from the White House, Iris Tao, NTD News.
Israel is set to receive billions of dollars in weapons from the U.S.
That's despite President Biden's decision to review some weapons supplies to Israel over its planned invasion of Rafah.
The Senate Foreign Relations Committee says this includes joint direct attack munitions, tank rounds, mortars, and armored tactical vehicles.
A shipment of bombs worth tens of millions of dollars, according to congressional aides, was delayed earlier.
The committee said some of these weapons have been in the pipeline since December.
They are not part of the $26 billion aid package signed by Biden last month.
A new Biden administration rule aims to speed up asylum processing at the southern border for illegal immigrants considered dangerous.
It would apply to a limited group of people believed to have committed serious crimes or who have terrorist links.
The rule announced Thursday would help officials more quickly remove such people from the country.
The change comes as President Biden tries to demonstrate that things are under control at the southern border.
Republicans have consistently slammed the Biden administration over policies they say have worsened the situation with illegal immigration.
Current law makes people convicted of a particularly serious crime ineligible for asylum, but that criminal history doesn't come into play until an immigration judge makes a final determination on asylum, and that process can take years.
The Senate met a key deadline last night, passing a bill to fund the Federal Aviation Administration through 2028.
The agency's authorization is set to expire at the end of today.
The bill passed in an 88-4 vote on Thursday, authorizing over $105 billion in funding for the agency and close to $740 million for the National Transportation Safety Board through the end of fiscal year 2028.
The bill would also prevent airlines from charging families a fee to sit together and require airlines to accept credits and vouchers for at least 5 years.
Cockpits would need 25-hour recording devices, up from the current 2 hours. The bill raises penalties for airline consumer violations and directs the FAA to hire more inspectors, engineers, and technical specialists.
The House has until next week Friday to finalize the measure and send it to President Biden's desk.
Up next, ever wanted to know what it's like to plunge into a black hole? Check out a stunning new visualization made on a NASA supercomputer.
Homeowners in California are hosting a pool party, but with some unusual guests. We hear their story and take a look at some of the bears captured on camera when we come back.
The shining gem of New England. This delightful seaside city of Newport is one of the most beautiful places in the state. Today, we bring you here as we meet with our friends and fellow musicians from the Hermitage Piano Trio. As a team, they have garnered multiple Grammy Award nominations with their breathtaking performances.
Oh, wow, I did not think this instrument can make that sound. Right?
The pandemic made this reunion even more special.
3 of us, we like it because we feel music the same way, so...
Don't miss us on the next episode of Piano Talks.
Imagine a coffee that cares for your health. Expertly fermented with a 50 enzyme complex to enhance flavor and remove bitterness. Small batch roasted to a decadent medium dark, resulting in a brew that is gentle on digestion, low acid, and up to 90% less caffeine than regular coffee. Try America's first enzyme fermented coffee today.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
Do you know that Cars for Compassion is the best way to donate your car? Through this non-profit program, you can not only help us keep bringing the world independent and daringly truthful journalism, but also significantly impact the life of somebody who needs a vehicle. The Epoch Times fights misinformation and big tech censorship by being independent and unbound to advertisers. Every single contribution to Cars for Compassion is a powerful endorsement of our unwavering mission. All you have to do is go to carsforcompassion.org and let us know about your car, and we'll schedule a pickup time and email you a tax-deductible receipt. To do this, just click the link below. Support truth, compassion, and hope. Donate your car right now at www.carsforcompassion.org.
Welcome back. The Southeast was ravaged by more dangerous storms yesterday. Tennessee was lashed by a tornado in Columbia, a city near Nashville.
That tornado killed one person and destroyed scores of houses.
The National Weather Service said the latest tornado reached speeds of 140 miles per hour. Officials said the tornado damaged or destroyed over 100 homes in Columbia.
Governor Bill Lee said a woman died after her mobile home was hit by the tornado and flung several feet into a wooded area. Experts estimate the tornado traveled over 11 miles and was about 900 yards wide.
The tornado uprooted trees or snapped them into pieces. Later, the same tornado was caught on video in nearby Spring Hill, Tennessee. It came roaring through the town, cutting a wide swath and damaging or destroying more houses. Power lines were downed. Cleanup and damage assessment is still ongoing. And with hurricane season almost here, a Florida power company is holding its annual mock hurricane drill to make sure they're ready. Florida Power and Light's drill simulates how the company would respond if a hurricane strikes and wrecks the power grid.
The fake Hurricane Benito, with its imaginary 135-mile-per-hour winds, follows the real hurricanes Idalia and Ian, which seriously damaged portions of the state over the last 2 years.
For us, it is very significant to make sure that our organization is ready to go during an emergency event like a hurricane. And so having the training and the processes checked and challenged through a drill like this one, like a hurricane dry run, allows us to then take any of those gaps that we may be able to identify and work them into our process prior to the actual peak of the hurricane season being upon us.
The National Hurricane Center predicts the upcoming Atlantic and Gulf hurricane season will top the yearly average of 7 tropical storms and 7 hurricanes, with 3 of them major. Hurricane season is from June 1st to November 30th. Peak season happens around the beginning of September.
Wow, yeah, I mean, as businesses, you have a lot at stake too, because other people are also depending on that income, for example. So you want to be able to absorb something like that.
Yeah, and it's good that they have those mold remediation companies that can come in and help people get back on their feet after such a catastrophic event.
Important, that's right. Now, let's change topics here and embark on a mind-bending journey with NASA into the heart of a black hole.
But not really, hopefully. That's pretty dangerous. Using cutting-edge technology, NASA has crafted a mesmerizing simulation providing a glimpse into this cosmic enigma.
This immersive visualization, created with a powerful supercomputer, offers a first-hand experience of a black hole 4.3 million times the mass of our sun.
Witness the twisting event horizon, feel the gravitational pull, and plunge into the singularity past the point of no return.
This groundbreaking simulation offers a glimpse into the mysteries of the universe.
An image captured in 2019 is the closest we've come to viewing a real black hole. So for now, this high-def, high-flying simulation will serve as a safe alternative to an up-close look.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, the black holes, they really are a big study in physics because, you know, you can learn a lot from those, like how they bend space-time and everything.
Yeah, maybe some time travel. Who knows?
We could be onto something here.
Yeah. All right, and astronomers have also unveiled another cosmic marvel, a stunning look at a sprawling nebula dubbed God's Hand.
This captivating image showcases an outstretched cometary globule named CG4, resembling a ghostly hand reaching for a spiral galaxy.
And upon closer inspection, the hand reveals 2 young stellar objects, marking the birth of stars.
This stunning snapshot was captured by the Dark Energy camera based in Chile.
Wow.
It's like, what is it trying to tell us?
But it's so mind-boggling, you know, I think Some scientists have said that it might be remains of a million-year-old supernova, and you know we just heard the sheer size of these things. It's absolutely mind-boggling, and always reminds me of how just inconceivable our universe is.
Yeah, just think about how old the universe is. It's got to have a lot of wisdom.
Yeah, should learn from it. All right, and now to a very light and fun topic. A bunch of bears have become regular guests at a California homeowner's pool.
They have a particular fondness for destroying the owner's pool floats, all caught on camera. Take a look. I imagine this could become a little unbearable.
It's a bear pool party in a people pool, but the owners don't bear a grudge.
Definitely the bears swim in the pool 3 to 5 times a week.
A mama bear they call Maddie and her 2 cubs are regular guests these days at the home of Ricky Martinez and Brian Gordon in the foothills of Los Angeles County.
They've killed unicorns, dinosaurs.
Like this inflatable unicorn, but after a young bear dragged it into the pool, well, this is how it ended. The bears have destroyed at least 5 or 6 floaties, not to mention the floating pool lights they've chewed up. They've lifted and licked the fryer, climbed the big tree. Maddie has used it as a back scratcher. When a delivery of patio furniture arrived, a bear tried to open it. When the guys first moved in a year and a half ago, they were a little nervous, but now
We love living with them.
the humans could feel like they're the ones being observed in a zoo, especially when the bears get right up against the glass.
You can see how long their claws are.
And then stand up like a person. The guests at this pool party have been known to not just play with the chlorinator, but to actually run away with it. To replace the slaughtered unicorns, the guys opted for a bear inflatable, and if the bears eat their own, well, the owners plan to just grin and bear it.
Okay, just imagine being the pool boy doing your job, and then all of a sudden a bear is right there in the pool.
Yeah, hopefully they're friendly, but you know, that just looks like the bear. That's the bear's house. They're just living in it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, according to Colorado Parks and Wildlife, though, if a bear does come and it enters your home or gets in that area, don't approach it. Just call the authorities. They'll help.
Yeah, even though they look very cute, we saw their claws. Do not even attempt that.
They're wild animals. They're feral.
Right. All right. On that note, we're wrapping up our show right here, but be sure to stay tuned for our live special coverage at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's coming up.
And for round-the-clock original news coverage, visit us at ntd.com or download our NTD app.
That's right. Thanks for watching. I'm Evelyn Lee.
And I'm Kevin Hogan.
A faith rich in beauty and tradition, uplifting the mind and body, persevering through decades of persecution. Watch our special coverage of the 2024 World Falun Dafa Day Parade live from New York City, starting 11 a.m. Eastern Time, here on NTD.
Do you ever wake up and realize your life has no purpose?